In the harsh winter of 1878, a lonely cowboy found an old woman freezing beside a deserted trail. She had nowhere to go, no money, and only one hope left: to reach her daughter before the storm took her life. The cowboy gave her shelter, food, and his own bed without asking for anything in return. But days later, her daughter arrived at his ranch and made him a shocking request. "Will you marry me?" What happened next changed all three of their lives forever. If you enjoy emotional Old West stories filled with kindness, love, and unexpected twists, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get started. In the autumn of 1878, when the winds carried the first bitter chill across the Wyoming territory, a lonely cowboy named Samuel Hart lived upon a small ranch miles from the nearest town. His days were spent tending cattle, repairing fences, and riding the endless stretches of prairie beneath a sky that seemed to have no beginning or end. His nights were quieter, filled only with the crackle of the fireplace and the lonely howl of coyotes beyond the hills. Samuel had grown accustomed to solitude. He had lost his wife years before, and since then he had kept his heart guarded behind the rough walls of his ranch house. One evening, as the sun disappeared behind the mountains, Samuel was riding home when he noticed something unusual beside the trail. An old woman was walking alone through the falling snow. She wore a thin, faded dress beneath a worn shawl. Her hands trembled from the cold, and every few steps she stumbled. Samuel immediately rode toward her. "Ma'am," he called gently, "are you hurt?" The woman looked up with tired eyes. "No, sir, only tired." Samuel dismounted and approached her. "Where are you headed?" The old woman hesitated before answering. "My daughter lives beyond the ridge. I have been trying to reach her, but I fear these old legs shall not carry me much farther." Samuel glanced toward the darkening sky. A storm was gathering beyond the mountains. "You won't make it through the night," he said. "Come with me." The woman shook her head. "I cannot repay you." "I didn't ask for payment." Samuel lifted her carefully onto his horse and climbed behind her. Within half an hour, they reached his small ranch house. Inside, Samuel built a roaring fire and placed the old woman beside it. He prepared warm stew, poured her a cup of coffee, and gave her his own wool blanket. "You take the bed," he told her. "And where will you sleep?" "Near the fire." The woman looked at him with surprise. "You are a good man." Samuel simply smiled. For 3 days, he cared for her. He never complained, never asked questions, and never expected anything in return. On the morning of the 4th day, the old woman finally revealed her name. "Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore," she said, "and my daughter Clara lives just beyond the ridge." Samuel nodded. Before she left, Eleanor took his rough hand in both of hers. "My daughter must know what you have done for me." Samuel smiled modestly. "Ma'am, any decent man would have done the same." But Samuel had no idea that those simple words would soon change the course of his lonely life forever. 4 days after Samuel Hart had sheltered the old woman, the Wyoming morning arrived beneath a pale golden sky. The storm had finally passed, leaving the prairie covered in a thin blanket of snow. Samuel was outside repairing a broken fence when he heard the distant sound of horse hooves. He looked toward the trail. A young woman was riding toward the ranch. She wore a dark blue traveling dress beneath a heavy brown coat. Her horse was tired from the journey, but the woman seemed determined to reach the ranch before sunset. Samuel rested his hands upon the fence. "Can I help you, ma'am?" The woman dismounted. "Are you Samuel Hart?" "Yes." Her eyes immediately filled with emotion. "My name is Clara Whitmore." Samuel understood at once. "You're Eleanor's daughter." Clara nodded. "Where is my mother?" "Inside, she's resting." Clara rushed through the cabin door. Moments later, Samuel heard her crying as she embraced her mother. "My dear girl," Eleanor whispered. "You came." "I thought I had lost you," Clara replied. Samuel quietly stepped outside, believing the family deserved privacy. A short while later, Clara came out onto the porch. She stood beside him in silence. "My mother told me everything," she finally said. Samuel looked toward the snowy fields. "There wasn't much to tell. She needed shelter, so I gave it." Clara shook her head. You don't understand. She had been walking for days. Other people passed her on the road, but nobody stopped. Samuel lowered his eyes. I only did what any decent man would do. Clara smiled sadly. That is precisely why I came. Samuel looked at her. She took a nervous breath. I have spent my whole life hearing that a woman must be careful about whom she trusts. My mother says a man's character is shown by what he does when nobody is watching. Samuel gave a quiet laugh. Your mother has a wise tongue. She also has a request. Samuel raised an eyebrow. What request? Clara stepped closer. She wants me to stay here for a while and help care for her. Samuel nodded. You're welcome to stay as long as you need. Clara looked directly into his eyes. And what if I wish to stay longer than that? Samuel became silent. Clara's cheeks reddened. Mr. Hart, would you consider marrying me? For several seconds, Samuel could not speak. You hardly know me, he finally whispered. I know enough, Clara replied. I know you gave my mother your bed while you slept beside the fire. I know you fed her when you had little to spare. And I know you asked nothing in return. Samuel gently took her hand. Then perhaps, he said with a smile, we ought to give ourselves time to know the rest. Clara smiled through her tears. That spring, beneath the wide Wyoming sky, Samuel and Clara were married. And Eleanor, standing proudly beside them, knew that one lonely evening on a snowy trail had brought 3 wandering hearts safely home.